Thomas Blake is one of the wealthiest and most respected men in New York. To the world, he represents the pinnacle of success. He possesses immense wealth, influence, and a series of ventures that have made him a legend on Wall Street. But behind the facade of power and prestige lies a man bearing deep, solitary pain. Those who work beside him describe him as serious, methodical, and somewhat cold, unable to get close to anyone beyond what is strictly necessary. His impeccably timed routine includes early mornings, workouts, reviewing contracts, and endless business meetings. Yet every day he finds himself surrounded by an emptiness that no amount of money can fill. In his luxurious office, there is a small wooden box that Thomas takes with him everywhere, even on international trips. Made of dark mahogany, the box has a simple but gleaming clasp, which he opens only on rare occasions, usually at night when he's alone, and the weight of solitude becomes unbearable. Inside, he keeps a pendant that belonged to his late wife, Helena, a woman he loved deeply but who passed away years ago due to a sudden and cruel illness. Helena was the only person who saw Thomas beyond his ambition and cold exterior. She believed in the kindness and vulnerability that existed within him, and he loved her intensely. Her death left a consuming emptiness, driving Thomas to seek distraction and purpose in business, contracts, and financial conquests, but never in love again. Beyond the pendant, the box contains a letter Helena wrote before she died. Her handwriting is firm and elegant, and the message is simple yet powerful. For you, my love, wherever you are, I will always be with you. As he reads these words, Thomas relives the memories of his time with her, feeling as if a part of himself has been torn away. The letter and the pendant inside the box are the last connections he has with Helena, and the only possessions he considers truly meaningful among all his material wealth. These items represent a love he never managed to overcome, and at the same time, a pain he can't share with anyone. On his hardest days, Thomas remembers how Helena dreamed of building a family with him, of having a home filled with laughter and happy memories. Though he never openly admitted it, these were dreams he once shared. However, Helena's death deeply shook his confidence in the future, making him abandon any possibility of starting over. Years have passed, but her memory remains so vivid that it still has the power to wound him. That particular morning, Thomas wakes up more melancholic than usual, feeling the weight of Helena's absence like a constant shadow. He sets out for another day of meetings and commitments, but the thought of the box and what it represents never leaves his mind. As he walks the streets of New York, he suddenly feels disconnected from all the hustle around him. He watches the hurried passers-by, the lights of the billboards, the sound of horns, but none of it brings him any satisfaction. The money and power he once pursued now seem increasingly hollow, unable to fill what he truly lost. After leaving an exhausting meeting, something unexpected catches his attention. In a corner of the street, amidst the constant flow of pedestrians and city noise, he sees a young woman sitting on the ground, holding a sign that reads, "I need help to restart my life." The young woman in worn clothes and with a tired face looks down, avoiding eye contact with the people passing by. But Thomas can't simply ignore her. Something in that image makes him stop. He watches her for a moment longer than usual, intrigued by the expression on her face, a mixture of despair and hope. The young woman seems strangely familiar to him, as if he's known her from somewhere, or some long-lost moment. Thomas feels something stirring inside him, an impulse he rarely experiences. He approaches her, hesitant, fighting against the uncomfortable feeling of vulnerability that arises from interacting with a complete stranger. The young woman, still with her head down, looks surprised when she notices someone standing beside her. She slowly lifts her eyes, and for a brief moment, their gazes meet. Thomas sees a depth and fragility in those eyes that remind him of Helena, of her hopes, and of his own dreams of one day having a family. Instinctively, he reaches into his pocket where he keeps the small wooden box. For years, he has carried this object as an anchor to his memories and a symbol of all he has lost. However, something about this young woman makes him feel that he may no longer need this symbol, that the weight of the past can finally be lifted. Impulsively, he decides to give her the box. When he finally extends the object to her, the young woman looks at him in surprise, not understanding what is happening. "I want you to keep this," he says in a low but firm tone, feeling a mix of relief and pain. She takes the box, still confused, but touched by the unexpected gesture. Thomas says nothing about the emotional value of the object, nor about his history with Helena. He simply smiles softly and walks away, trying to convince himself he did the right thing. Yet as he turns his back on the young woman, a wave of regret hits him hard. The box was the last tangible connection he had with Helena, and now it's in the hands of a stranger. The decision to give it away was impulsive, but something inside him tells him that, in some inexplicable way, that gesture had a greater purpose. After handing the box to Lily Anderson, Thomas Blake walks down the street toward his car, but something makes him look back. The young woman is still sitting there, holding the wooden box with a puzzled, almost astonished expression as she examines the unexpected gift. Not quite sure what to think, she carefully opens the box. Inside, she finds a delicate diamond pendant with a central blue stone and a handwritten note in elegant script. Lily feels an intense emotion as she gazes at the pendant. Even without knowing the story behind the item, the feel and shine of the jewelry seem to whisper that it once belonged to someone special. Across the street, Thomas watches the scene, and a wave of regret begins to build within him. He stands motionless, grappling with an internal struggle. Should he turn back and reclaim the box or move forward? He tries to convince himself that perhaps this item, carrying so much meaning to him, could somehow help Lily, but his mind warns him that giving such a precious piece to a stranger was reckless. It's as though, by handing over the box, he has opened a part of his soul he had kept locked away for so long. The act of giving her that item was both liberating and unsettling, a mix of emotions he finds difficult to process. Noticing that Thomas is still there, Lily looks up at him curiously. She feels the urge to thank him, but the confusion and amazement leave her momentarily speechless. Curiosity growing, she picks up the note placed alongside the pendant. With trembling hands, she unfolds the neatly folded paper, revealing a brief message. For you, my love, wherever you are, I will always be with you. The depth and tenderness of these words touch Lily, as if the note were addressed to her. Yet she realizes this note was written for someone who clearly meant the world to that man who just gave her the box. She lifts her eyes and notices a profound sadness in Thomas's expression. Not entirely sure what to do, Lily decides to break the silence. This means a lot to you, doesn't it? Her voice is soft, almost hesitant, but sincere. She feels moved by the gift, but she doesn't want him to regret having given it to her. Thomas, not entirely sure how to respond, just nods, trying to find the right words. Yes, it does, he answers, his voice strained. It belonged to my wife, my late wife. Lily feels a pang of sadness at his words. The idea that someone he loved and lost is connected to the object, now in her hands, creates an unexpected emotional link between them. She understands the symbolic value of the box and feels almost unworthy of keeping it. Lily lowers her gaze, still holding the pendant. I didn't know. I don't want to accept something so important to you. She begins to extend the box back to him, but Thomas raises his hand in a gentle gesture, indicating she should keep it. For some reason, I feel you need this now more than I do, he says, trying to mask the whirlwind of emotions within him. Sometimes we have to let certain memories go. Maybe this is a new beginning, both for me and for you. He tries to smile, but his heart aches, filled with questions and regrets he can barely process. Lily senses the sincerity in Thomas's words, and something stirs deep within her. A feeling that this encounter was no coincidence. A wave of gratitude washes over her, but also a sense of responsibility to care for this gift. Thank you, she says, her voice low and emotional. I don't know why you did this, but I promise I'll take good care of it. Thomas nods, unable to say more. They share a brief but intense look, and then he turns and walks toward his car, leaving Lily with the weight of his story in her hands. As he walks away, Thomas tries to process what just happened. By giving Lily the last item that connected him to Helena, he feels as though he's shed an enormous weight, but the loss is nearly unbearable. Helena was the love of his life, the embodiment of everything he held dear, and now her last memory is with someone else. He tries to rationalize his actions, telling himself it was an instinctive decision, but something inside him stirs, as though this exchange has opened doors to a mystery for which he has yet to find answers. Meanwhile, Lily, now alone, remains seated, absorbing the strange and emotional experience. She feels inexplicably connected to Thomas's story, his loss, and the significance of that gift. The pendant rests in her hand, shimmering in the daylight and in silence. She makes a promise to herself to honor the memory of the woman he loved. Sitting on the ground with the pendant in her hand, Lily feels a blend of emotions she cannot quite explain. Thomas's unexpected gesture and the sentimental value of the box touch her in ways she was not prepared for. She recalls details of her own life, a childhood in foster homes, a youth marked by loneliness and rejection, and her ongoing struggle to survive on the streets. In this box, she sees something she never had, a significant keepsake from someone who was clearly loved and loved deeply in return. For the first time, she feels she is holding something truly precious, as though she is somehow connected to a story larger than her own. Across the street, Thomas watches her, his heart growing heavier with each passing second. He thinks about how, on a whim, he gave away the last object that connected him to Helena, the only woman who had seen and loved the man beneath his ambition and coldness. Regret grows inside him, like a wound slowly reopening. Thomas tries to justify his actions, telling himself he needed to let go of the past, but he realizes it's not that simple. Giving away the box feels as if he has torn open an old scar, allowing grief he thought he'd buried to resurface. He recalls the happy days spent with Helena when they dreamed of building a family. His mind drifts back to the moment she gave him that pendant, telling him she would always be with him, no matter where life took them. Now, by handing that symbol to a young stranger, he feels he may have betrayed Helena's memory. But at the same time, there is something in Lily that moves him, a strange familiarity he cannot quite grasp. Filled with both guilt and regret, Thomas decides to approach her again. Crossing the street slowly, he kneels beside Lily, who looks at him in surprise. "May I?" he asks, gesturing toward the box and pendant. Lily, still somewhat bewildered, nods, holding the object out to him. Thomas carefully takes the pendant, as though it were a fragile treasure, and stares at it in silence, lost in thoughts and memories. He remembers Helena wearing the pendant on special occasions and the joy they shared together. He wonders, too, if Helena would have approved of his giving something so personal to someone else. Watching Thomas's expression, Lily feels a pang of empathy. She sees that, behind his cold and controlled facade, there is a man suffering from loss and yearning, much like herself. She realizes that his gesture was more than just an act of charity. It was an emotional surrender, a silent request for help. "This belonged to your wife, didn't it?" Lily asked gently, almost afraid to intrude on his privacy. Thomas gives a small nod without taking his eyes off the pendant. "Yes," he replies, his voice thick with emotion. She was the love of my life. This box, it represents everything we shared. Our story, our dreams." He pauses, as if sharing something he has never revealed to anyone else. "I thought giving it to you, maybe it would help me let go of the past. But now I realize just how much it still matters to me." Lily feels a lump in her throat as she listens. She knows the pain of losing something precious, even though her story is completely different from his. Her life has been filled with gaps, faces of temporary caregivers, people who never stayed. Listening to the depth of Thomas's love for his wife, she feels a twinge of envy and longing, not for something she lost, but for something she never had. "That's why this box means so much now," she says, holding the pendant tenderly. "Knowing someone loved like that so deeply makes me think that maybe I can have that someday too." Thomas's gaze softens, and something in the way she speaks, the expression on her face, the vulnerability in her eyes brings Helena's image back to him. He remains silent for a moment, observing her with newfound understanding and a deepening sense of curiosity. How could he feel such a connection with someone he barely knows? How could this young stranger suddenly seem like part of a story he never realized he was living? Driven by curiosity, Thomas decides to share something he has kept private since Helena's death. "You know, Lily, Helena always wanted to adopt a child, She used to say there were children in the world who needed love just as much as we wanted to give it. He smiles with a bittersweet look as he recalls her words. She believed everything had a purpose, that life brought the right people together at the right time. Lily listens intently, taking in each word. For the first time, she feels that something larger is happening, an inexplicable connection binding them. A heavy silence falls between them, and Lily, in a gentle voice, asks, "And you? Did you ever want that?" Thomas hesitates, taking a deep breath. "I was afraid. When I lost her, I thought I'd never be able to love or attach to anyone again. I thought the pain would be unbearable." He stops, gazing at Lily. "But sometimes I think Helena was right, that maybe someday I would find someone who could help me fill this emptiness." Lily feels an unfamiliar emotion welling up. For the first time in years, she feels important, as though she has a real purpose. She begins to notice that Thomas sees her as more than just a stranger. He looks at her with an intensity she doesn't quite understand, but that gives her a sense of security and peace. With newfound courage, Lily asks, "Have you ever wondered if everything that happens has a reason? I mean, we met like that, so unexpectedly. Maybe it wasn't a coincidence." She glances at the pendant again. "Maybe I'm part of your story, Thomas. Or maybe we both have something to learn from each other." Thomas looks at her in silence, and a feeling washes over him. He can't explain it, but something seems to fit into place. For some reason, he senses there is more to discover about this young woman than he initially imagined. His expression hardens for a moment, and he decides to investigate her past. Although he has never explored his own past deeply, this encounter seems to be one he was destined to have. They part with a shared look, full of unspoken promises and silent hopes. Lily feels this is the beginning of something significant, and as she watches Thomas walk away, she feels a strong urge to understand what truly connects them. Days after their unexpected encounter, Thomas can't stop thinking about Lily. The idea that there might be something greater binding their lives together haunts him. He remembers Helena's words about adopting a child and realizes that, in some inexplicable way, his late wife may have been right. Driven by curiosity, and perhaps by a sense of connection he doesn't fully understand, Thomas decides to investigate Lily's past to try to uncover the reason behind this bond he feels with her. Over the following days, Thomas uses his resources and contacts to learn more about Lily's life. He hires a private investigator to search adoption records and old social service files that might reveal something about her background. With each piece of information he receives, he realizes he's becoming increasingly invested in this search for answers, almost as if he's on a personal journey to reclaim something he lost within himself. Yet he still doesn't know exactly what he's hoping to find. After a week of investigation, the detective calls him for a meeting at his office. Thomas arrives on time, a mixture of anxiety and hope coursing through him as he listens to the detective's report. "Mr. Blake, I managed to uncover some details about Miss Anderson's history. She was registered in the adoption system at age 3 after being found abandoned on a street in a modest neighborhood. There aren't many details about the biological parents, except that the mother's name was Helena." Thomas feels a chill upon hearing the name. He falls silent, his heart racing, his mind overwhelmed with an avalanche of thoughts and memories. Helena. Could it be possible that this young woman is somehow connected to his late wife? He tries to keep his composure, but the emotion is nearly unbearable. With trembling hands, he asks, "Are you certain?" "The mother's name was Helena," the detective confirms with a slight nod. "Yes, sir. Although the adoption system doesn't provide many details about the biological parents, the name Helena does appear in the records. There's no further information about the father." Thomas feels something beginning to click into place. The name of the mother, Helena, can't be a coincidence, and the thought that Lily might somehow be linked to the woman he loved hits him with tremendous force. He feels simultaneously shocked, confused, and hopeful. With his heart pounding, Thomas decides he needs to speak to Lily immediately. He calls her and asks to meet in the same park where they last spoke. Lily accepts, surprised by the urgency in his voice. She arrives a few minutes later to find Thomas already waiting. He looks visibly nervous, something she's never seen in him before. Lily sits down beside Thomas on the bench, and he hesitates a moment before finally speaking. Lily, there's something I need to share with you, something I recently discovered. He takes a deep breath, looking at her carefully, trying to find the right words. I conducted an investigation into your past because I felt there was something bigger connecting us. And what I found truly surprised me. She looks at him, confused but curious. What did you find, Thomas? He meets her gaze and says, his voice filled with emotion, your biological mother. Her name was Helena. Lily freezes, her expression shifting from surprise to confusion, and then to an emotion she can't quite define. My mother? She repeats, trying to process what he just said. Yes, Helena, Thomas confirms, his voice soft. That's the name listed in the adoption records. I think there's a chance you're connected to me in ways neither of us ever imagined. He pauses, absorbing the weight of his own words. Helena was also my wife's name, the woman I lost, the woman with whom I always dreamed of building a family. But I never knew that. She might have had a daughter. Lily feels a whirlwind of emotions. From a young age, she has always wondered who her biological parents were and why she had been abandoned, but she never received any answers. Now, the possibility that Thomas might have some connection to her leaves her in shock. She tries to speak, but the words seem to escape her. So, you think my mother could be the same Helena you loved? She asks, struggling to keep her voice steady. Thomas takes a deep breath, trying to make sense of the emotions overwhelming him. I don't know for certain, Lily, but I feel there's a strong possibility. Maybe I have a connection to you that I never could have imagined. And maybe, in some way, you are truly part of what Helena always dreamed of in our life. Lily feels her eyes fill with tears. The idea that she might be Helena's daughter, the woman he loved so deeply, the mother she never knew, is both frightening and comforting. All she has ever wanted was a connection, a family, and now sitting next to Thomas, she feels she might finally be close to finding her answers. Murmuring through her emotions, she says, I've always wondered why I never had a family, why I always felt incomplete. She looks at Thomas, who watches her with a mixture of sorrow and paternal love. Maybe this is the reason our paths crossed. Thomas reaches out and takes her hand, offering security and support. If you really are Helena's daughter, I promise I'll do everything I can to take care of you, just as I would have if I'd known from the beginning. No matter what any proof says, I feel Helena brought us together in some way. He pauses, and the tenderness in his expression reveals how committed he is to reconciling with the past. They sit in silence for a moment, each absorbing the new possibilities, both emotional and hopeful. In that instant, Thomas realizes his life wouldn't be complete without Lily, and Lily feels that she has finally found the connection she has always longed for. After this revelation, they decide to take a DNA test to determine whether Lily is truly Helena's daughter, and possibly Thomas's daughter too. The days spent waiting for the results are intense and filled with anxiety for both of them. They spend more time together, sharing stories, getting to know each other, and noticing just how much they have in common, as though their lives were always destined to intersect. Finally, the results arrive. Thomas and Lily meet again in the park, the place where their lives first changed forever. He opens the envelope with trembling hands, and the confirmation is clear. Lily is Helena's daughter. Thomas feels a wave of emotion and love as he realizes he has finally found his lost daughter, someone he never knew existed. He embraces her tightly, and Lily, overwhelmed by emotion, allows herself to cry in his arms, feeling for the first time in her life like she truly belongs to something greater. After the DNA test confirms that Lily is indeed Helena's daughter, Thomas feels as if, in some way, a cycle in his life is finally complete. Years of emptiness, guilt, and regret over Helena's death now transform into a profound sense of redemption and purpose. He has found a piece of the life he always wanted with her. As he embraces Lily in that park, the connection he sensed upon seeing her for the first time now makes perfect sense. She is his daughter. Part of Helena still lives within her, and this discovery brings him both joy and a new sense of responsibility. In the days that follow, Thomas and Lily begin to build their new relationship, which is filled with ups and downs. For Lily, this revelation brings mixed feelings: the euphoria of finally finding a true family, but also the pain of knowing her mother, Helena, was always out of reach, a loss that deeply shaped her. For Thomas, the experience is an emotional challenge. He wants to be a present father and support Lily, but he fears that the mistakes of the past will stand in the way of their connection. Thomas insists that Lily come to live with him, though she hesitates, feeling out of place amidst the luxury that surrounds Thomas's life. She ultimately agrees, determined to give this new relationship a chance and learn more about her mother through his stories. When Lily arrives at Thomas's mansion for the first time, she feels a mix of fascination and insecurity. The walls of the house are adorned with portraits and keepsakes of Helena, memories that Thomas never had the courage to part with. Lily's eyes travel over the room, realizing that even after all these years, Helena's presence still lingers in nearly every corner. She is moved as she sees photographs of her mother at different stages of her life, each image helping her piece together a clearer picture of the woman she takes after so deeply. One afternoon, as they organize some of Helena's belongings together, Thomas shares stories about her. He recounts their love story, the plans they had to adopt a child, and Helena's generous heart, always eager to help those in need. Lily listens in fascination, soaking up every detail about her mother. She feels that, little by little, the gaps in her past are being filled with these memories and stories that Thomas is now sharing with her. One evening, Thomas invites her to dinner, planning to make it a special moment for them to celebrate this new beginning. During the meal, they talk about the little details of their day and share some dreams and hopes for the future. Thomas admits that he wants to use his wealth to start a foundation to support young people on the streets, inspired by Lily's journey, and suggests that she help him lead the project. For him, this is a way to give her purpose. Just as Helena had always dreamed of helping children who had never had the opportunity to experience love and stability. Lily accepts his invitation, grateful for the chance to transform her painful past into something meaningful for others. But like any new beginning, their journey is not without challenges. Although grateful and happy for Thomas's presence, Lily struggles with a lingering distrust she developed over years of hardship. Sometimes the fear of being abandoned again surfaces, causing her to hold back, worried that this new happiness might be temporary. Thomas notices her hesitation and, with understanding, he decides to give her the time she needs. He reassures her, easing her worries whenever doubts arise, and spares no effort in proving that he is there to stay. At one point, Lily decides to revisit the box that Thomas gave her, the item that marked the beginning of everything. She opens the box and once again finds the pendant and Helena's note. Holding the pendant, she feels as though she finally understands what it represents. It is the link between her mother and father, something she now sees as a blessing and a symbol of her own new beginning. With the note in her hands, she reads Helena's words once more. "For you, my love, wherever you are, I will always be with you." These words take on new meaning for Lily, who now feels that Helena not only left a legacy of love, but also guided her to this moment. Thomas observes the impact of the box on Lily, watching her in silence, respecting her moment with her mother's memories. She turns to him and smiles, her eyes glistening with tears. "Thank you for giving me this," she says softly. "Now I feel like I truly know her. And I also feel that, in a way, she brought us together." He returns her smile, equally moved. "Lily, I know my life will never be the same with you here. I want you to know that I will always be by your side, just as your mother would have wanted." He reaches out his hand and she takes it, feeling the warmth and security of a real family bond for the first time. From that moment on, their relationship flourishes. Lily becomes deeply involved in the foundation they created together, using her own life experience to guide and inspire young people who have faced similar situations. For his part, Thomas finds a new purpose in life, and Lily's presence fills the void he once thought would never heal. Both realize that Helena's love helped bring them together so that they could finally find healing. On the night of the foundation's opening, Lily wears the pendant around her neck, feeling her mother's presence closer than ever. Thomas delivers an emotional speech, thanking everyone and dedicating the foundation to Helena's memory, while Lily watches, moved, feeling more connected to her parents than ever before. Their story of pain and loss has transformed into one of love, redemption, and a new beginning. In each new day, father and daughter find a fresh opportunity to know one another and strengthen their bond. Thomas finally reconciles with his past and commits to being the father Lily always needed, and she, in turn, finds in him the support and love she has longed for. Both come to understand that no matter how much time has passed, love, forgiveness, and the desire for redemption are capable of healing even the deepest wounds, allowing them to build a new life together in honor of Helena's legacy. After the DNA test confirmed that Lily is indeed Helena's daughter, Thomas feels as if a cycle in his life has finally come full circle. Years of emptiness, guilt, and regret over Helena's death transform into a deep sense of redemption and purpose. He has finally found a piece of the life he always dreamed of with her. Holding Lily in his arms in that park, the connection he sensed the first time he saw her makes complete sense now. She is his daughter. A part of Helena lives on in her, and this discovery fills him with both immense joy and a renewed sense of responsibility. In the days that follow, Thomas and Lily begin building their new relationship, a journey filled with highs and lows. For Lily, this revelation brings mixed emotions. The euphoria of finally finding a true family, coupled with the sorrow of knowing her mother, Helena, was always out of reach, a loss that has marked her deeply. For Thomas, the experience is an emotional challenge. He wants to be the father she has longed for and to support her, but he worries that the mistakes of his past may hinder the bond they're forming. Thomas insists that Lily come live with him. Although she hesitates, feeling somewhat out of place amidst the luxury that surrounds Thomas's life, she eventually agrees, determined to give this new relationship a real chance and to learn more about her mother through his stories. When Lily arrives at Thomas's mansion for the first time, she feels a mix of fascination and unease. The walls of the house are adorned with portraits and mementos of Helena, memories that Thomas has never had the heart to part with. Lily's eyes scan the room, realizing that, even after all these years, Helena's presence lingers in every corner. She feels moved as she sees photos of her mother in various stages of her life, each image helping her form a clearer picture of the woman who has left such a profound legacy in her heart. One afternoon, while organizing some of Helena's belongings together, Thomas shares stories about her. He tells Lily about their love, the plans they made to adopt a child, and how Helena always had a generous heart, eager to help anyone in need. Lily listens, absorbed in every word, each detail giving her a sense of closeness to the mother she never got to know. She feels that, piece by piece, the emptiness in her past is being filled with these memories and stories that Thomas has been keeping just for her. One evening, Thomas invites Lily to a special dinner, intending it as a celebration of their new beginning. During the meal, they talk about the little details of their days and share some hopes and dreams for the future. Thomas confesses that he wants to use his wealth to create a foundation dedicated to supporting homeless youth, inspired by Lily's journey, and he asks her to join him in leading the project. For him, this is not only a way to give her purpose, but also to fulfill Helena's dream of helping children who never had the chance to experience love and stability. Lily accepts the invitation, grateful for the chance to transform her painful past into something meaningful for others. But, like any new beginning, their journey together has its challenges. Although grateful and happy to have Thomas in her life, Lily struggles with lingering distrust born from years of hardship. At times, the fear of being abandoned again resurfaces, making her hesitate to grow too close, afraid this new happiness could prove temporary. Thomas notices her hesitation, and with patience and understanding, he decides to give her the time she needs. He reassures her, easing her doubts whenever they arise, and makes every effort to prove he is there to stay. At one point, Lily decides to revisit the box Thomas gave her, the item that marked the beginning of everything. She opens it again, finding the pendant and Helena's note. As she holds the pendant, she finally understands what it represents. It is the link between her mother and father, something she now sees as a blessing and a symbol of her own new beginning. With the note in her hands, she reads Helena's words once more. "For you, my love, wherever you are, I will always be with you. These words now carry new meaning for Lily, who feels that Helena not only left a legacy of love, but also guided her to this moment. Thomas watches the effect the box has on Lily, observing her quietly, respecting her moment with her mother's memory. She turns to him and smiles with tears in her eyes. "Thank you for giving me this," she says softly. "Now I feel like I truly know her. And I also feel that, somehow, she brought us together." He returns her smile, equally moved. "Lily, I know my life will never be the same with you here. I want you to know that I will always be by your side, just as your mother would have wanted." He reaches out and she takes his hand, feeling the warmth and security of a true family bond for the first time. From this moment, their relationship deepens. Lily becomes passionately involved in the foundation they have created together, using her own life experiences to guide and inspire young people who have gone through similar hardships. For Thomas, Lily's presence fills him with a renewed sense of purpose, as the void he once believed would never be healed slowly begins to close. Both of them realize that Helena's love has helped bring them together, allowing them to finally find the healing they both need. On the night of the foundation's grand opening, Lily wears the pendant around her neck, feeling her mother's presence closer than ever. Thomas delivers a heartfelt speech, thanking everyone and dedicating the foundation to Helena's memory. Lily watches, moved to tears, feeling more connected to her parents than ever before. Their story, once marked by pain and loss, has transformed into one of love, redemption, and new beginnings. From this day on, father and daughter find fresh opportunities every day to get to know one another and to strengthen their bond. Thomas finally makes peace with his past and commits to being the father Lily always needed, while she, in turn, finds in him the support and love she has longed for. They come to understand that no matter how much time has passed, love, forgiveness, and a desire for redemption have the power to heal even the deepest wounds, allowing them to build a new life together in honor of Helena's legacy. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Let us know in the comments what you think about Thomas and Lily's journey and the power of love, forgiveness, and second chances. And remember, sometimes the most meaningful connections come from the most unexpected places. See you in the next story.